So I wanted to give my thoughts on Apple's Keynote. The main things for me are definitely the iPhone 6, and to me, the iPhone 6, I'm just going to scroll through here so you can take a look. I'm not going to bother reading this because it is available on the Apple website. There are two versions, a 4.7 inch and 5.5 inch. The point for me is, this is what the iPhone 5 should have been in the first place. The main reason I switched over to Android, for those of you who do not know, well, number one, I did want to experiment with the operating system, but also I wanted a bigger screen. When they came out with the iPhone 5, they did not give me a bigger screen, they gave me a taller screen. When I've described it to people, when the iPhone 5 first came out, I said, take your iPhone 4, stick it in a vise, and stretch it. This, however, is a totally different animal. Much thinner from what I understand. Honestly, in looks alone, I absolutely love this. My hope also, my last iPhone was the iPhone 4 and I went through 3 of them. Excuse me. The first one, I accidentally dropped. Now, yes, I did have a case on it, but the case didn't last very long. And I am extremely gentle with my phones for the most part. The only problem is I do have mild cerebral palsy, which in the case of a slippery surface can make it difficult to hold a certain device. Case in point, my Galaxy Note 2 that I'm currently using has been through its share of dips, dings, and splats in the last several years, most of which have ended up in the battery cover popping off and at times the battery removing itself. Anyway, so I went through 3 iPhones. The first one went splat and I needed to get that replaced. The second one just died. And then the third one, which is currently was in service until I got the Galaxy, is now essentially obsolete. It will iOS 7 it'll run in an absolute pinch, but you can forget about it being usable in the future. But no, the iPhone 6, I absolutely love the fact that not only is it much better design in my opinion, hopefully a lot more durable, but also price-wise, for the exact same price as the 32 gig iPhone 4 that I have, they're giving you a 64 gigabyte with a 64-bit desktop architecture. This is obviously is going to blow the iPhone 4 out of the water. The other reason I want to go back to the iPhone is accessibility. For those of you who do not know, I am partially blind, and in fact, let me show you here. Let me show you. So this is right now what everybody else sees. Let me turn on magnification. This is what I see. This is what I see. This is what I have to see in order to avoid leaning in and compromising my posture as a result. But no, in terms of design, I do think that this new iPhone is honestly beautiful. Accessibility, like I said, definitely superior. Now, Android has closed the gap, and Android is a lot more accessible to people who are who just want a cheaper device, like the below $100 on contract. However, it is still a lot more likely that you will find a purpose-built for the blind app show up on the iPhone first, because there's far fewer hardware platforms to support. For instance, it took them a year to get a video magnifier working on my Galaxy, whereas with the iPhone, just straight out of the box. The other thing that I'm very interested in is this Apple Pay system that they've got. Now, I am very anxious regarding security. They say, and you can read this for yourself on the website, it was either on a website or a blog that I heard about this. Essentially what happens is you enter your credit or debit card information, but they don't use it. Instead, they assign your card and each individual transaction to a unique ID that is transmitted between you and an authorized Apple Pay retailer. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go in that respect. The other thing that's going to be yay or nay in terms of getting the iPhone 6 for me, like I said, I'm pretty sure I'll get it, but I want to wait and see what other people have to say about it. But I will be able to test one aspect of the new iPhone, and that is iOS 8, because supposedly at the time of this recording, which is September the 10th, the iOS 8 should be out next week, if I'm correct. That's, I believe a friend of mine who's testing the beta said that it would be out on the 19th, which is roughly a week from this coming Friday. So that's one of the things that was the takeaway for the Apple keynote. There is one other thing that was even more exciting for me, and that is the Apple Watch. Now, a lot of people have said at $349, this thing might not take off. Who knows? Might not. The main reason I think they introduced it today, even though it's not coming out till early 2015, is the exact same reason that they introduced the iPad early on and the iPhone early on. Build up the excitement, get people involved, and in the case of the iWatch and the iPad, the iWatch would be following the iPad in this case, because by that time, the App Store had been developed when the iPad was released. It gave developers time to work on optimizing their apps for the iPad. We've got essentially 5 months between now and when this thing's going to be released, assuming it gets released in January. My guess is January, February, March the latest. So we have about anywhere between 5 and 7 months, roughly. So that's going to give people plenty of time to get this thing in order. But let's take a look at this. The iWatch is actually very unique. In terms of other smartwatches, what I love is this digital crown. That's a very unique interface feature. And I've worn analog as well as digital watches, and I'm used to using the crown to set the time. In this case, the crown can be used to zoom in, just like I have here on my web page. I hope. I mean, they obviously showed it with the home screen, but it'll be interesting. Now, the reason why I say I hope is because it's all going to depend on third-party developers. The other things that I like about the device are the little things. You notice here as I'm scrolling through, we've got several different designs. To me, Mickey Mouse alone is worth the price of admission. I had a Mickey Mouse watch back when I was 7 years old, and this is just awesome. I've actually seen videos of the iWatch, of the Apple Watch, have started surfacing, and supposedly on the Mickey face, he actually taps his foot as the seconds go by, which I think is really, really cool. So let's go down through the other designs here. You can take a look here. This is your classic buckle and keeper design. You've got a couple of other new designs here. This one's unique. Apple call it a, let's take a look here. By the way, all of the main bodies for the Apple Watch, the regular Apple Watch, are 38 or 42 millimeter case, 316L stainless steel, which for those of you who have the 3-button talking atomic watches that I've been bringing up recently, that's what this has. It's the exact same feel. A sapphire crystal display and a ceramic back. As far as the band goes, Milanese loop, stainless steel with magnetic closure. That is something that I really think is just plain awesome. Now, they call it Milanese. I honestly have always thought it was called mesh. This band's interesting. From the side, and I think it might be the way that it loops around here, kind of looks to me like somebody's hair. I don't know. So there are some things that I am scratching my head about. But you can take a look at all the different clock faces here. See, are we still on the regular Apple Watch? Yes, we are. Some of these designs, by the way, like this one is strictly for the 42 millimeter. Fine by me. I honestly would not get that. A magnetic enclosure again. If I were to get this particular strap, which has a deployment buckle, for those of you who have fancier leather watches like a Citizen or a, I don't know if Seiko has a leather strap available with theirs or not, but definitely I know Citizen does. If you have a Citizen, you're probably familiar with a leather deployment buckle. I know Seiko's Braille watch has this as well, a leather band with a deployment buckle. Same thing. This is one of the things that I really, really like. Okay, now we've got into starting, I think here. No, this is still the regular Apple Watch. I'm sorry. This I want to stop and explain for just a moment. Standard steel link band. Now, with most steel link bands, I cannot wear them out of the box. My wrist is too small. Stainless steel butterfly closure. Now, like I said, too small for me, right? Ordinarily, and this is the case with the recent Solar Atomic talking watch that I've got, I had to go to the jeweler and have them remove 5 links. It took 20 minutes and was $20. This is where I honestly think that with the Apple Watch, it's the little things that count. Why? Again, stainless steel band, can't wear it. You're thinking, oh, I got to go to a jeweler, right? Check this out. I'm going to go to this article here. I'm going to just read this here. It says here, and they're talking about the metal band, all the smooth, cool metal rounded corners feel pretty good on the wrist, thanks in part to the smartly crafted watch band. Granted, there isn't just one band for the Apple Watch, but all the styles do share a few key elements. Firstly, they all slide in and out of the Apple Watch. There is a little button that releases the watch's hold on the band, and then it just slides out sideways. Why hasn't anybody else thought of this? The metal band, this is my favorite part though, the metal band is made up of 100 pieces that just pop off when you press a little release just under each segment. This means that I could effectively get this stainless steel strap and I don't have to worry about paying a jeweler or waiting in line. This is a revolution. Like I said, it's the little things. Now, yes, $350 is expensive to start, but depending on how the software turns out, like I told you earlier, I'm definitely looking at getting a new iPhone. This requires an iPhone to work. If the software proves itself come the holiday season when this is about to be released, where I'm sure the press is going to be hampered. Now, yes, the watch itself will be released after the holiday season. Let me make that very clear. First part of 2015. The reason I mention the holiday season, though, is because right around then, probably after Christmas, right between Christmas and New Year's, the press is going to be going gaga over this thing as far as actual demo units that have hit the press and are able to be demonstrated. If the software lives up to the hype, little things like the ability to adjust the band without going to a jeweler, the fact that they've got 2 completely different variations on this watch for people with different wrist sizes. This is amazing. Now, for those of you who have newly subscribed, go back to my video, A Unique Timepiece. In that video, I demonstrate a pocket talking atomic watch that I got for my graduation. Before having received that watch, I was pretty determined to get a Citizen Eco Drive. Now the Citizen Eco Drive is probably the biggest watch I'd ever worn. It was a 42 millimeter, and they said that they would have to remove a few links, but that it would work. But it took up my entire wrist. I've never had a watch on my wrist bigger than that. A lot of times with the men's watches, especially the higher end, they don't really think about people with varying abilities. And that watch was $650, and I believe has recently stepped up to $725. For $350, considering what you're getting, because this is definitely a premium watch, you have to understand also that it's got all the features of the smartwatch. I honestly think that this could be a real hit, were it not for one small concern that I have, and I'll get to that at the very end. In the meantime, let's take a look further down here. Again, stainless steel band, and the bands, if you're not happy with this band, just unclip it, clip in a new one, clip out the links. I'm serious, why hasn't anybody thought of this before? This would be beautiful for people with varying wrist sizes, not having to worry about paying a jeweler to do anything for them. Here's another look. This one, starting here with this white one, we get into what is called the Apple Watch Sport. Now let's take a look here real quick. The current Apple Watch, the regular Apple Watch, is a 38 or 42 millimeter case, 316L stainless steel, or in this case it's space black, a stainless steel, sapphire crystal display, and ceramic back. Starting with the Apple Watch Sport, you get the same 38 or 42 millimeter case, but the materials change. The materials change to a 7000 series silver aluminum, or aluminum, depending on where you are from, depending on which version of English you speak, the Queen's English or American English, and I am trying to include everybody. So if I did mispronounce the British pronunciation of aluminum, my apologies. Ion X glass display. That's definitely different from the sapphire crystal. Composite back. This, I have no idea what it is. Sport band white fluoroelastomer. Huh? Seriously, I have no idea what that is. And a stainless steel pin. Now, let's take a look at this again. Because of the way this one's configured, I'm not so sure how well it would fit me. But that's why I love the customization. My hope is that at launch time, you'll be able to purchase multiple bands. Interchange them the way you please. And I'll show you why when we get down. Here's another fluoroelastomer sport watch. You got blue, neon green, red, black. Now, this is the Apple Watch Edition. This is where you get to the really high end. You got the rose gold. Now, things definitely get different here. It's again 38 or 42 millimeter, 18 karat rose gold, sapphire crystal ceramic back. This is actual gold. My guess is this will probably hit the $1,000 mark. Now you're thinking, for a watch, yes, that is expensive. But if you've ever gone on to any of the high-end jewelry stores and taken a look at a Rolex or a Patek Philippe, that is where I think this one lies, is in that market. So we got different, these are all rose gold, different bands here. Classic buckle. Same deployment clasp as we saw earlier, except in the rose gold. This right here, this, remember I was talking earlier about Mickey Mouse? What would be beautiful is if you could take this bright red band and couple it to one of the lower end Apple Watches, or if you got the money, go ahead and get this one. And stick the Mickey Mouse face on it. I swear, this bright red, gold, and Mickey Mouse, excuse me, couldn't be happier. So that's basically all the styles for the iWatch, or the Apple Watch, and I keep wanting to call it the iWatch because that's what it's been called for the longest time. We've got everybody out there who knows it as the iWatch. Forget that name. It is the Apple Watch. So earlier I was talking about concerns. Number one is the software. Number two is accessibility. I have not heard a thing about whether or not this is going to have VoiceOver. Now, this does not, from what I understand, it does not run iOS. Perhaps there is a screen reader in the works. But what would be really, really cool from an accessibility standpoint is if they could take the rotor and incorporate that, because for those of you who are VoiceOver users, you're familiar with the rotor on our iOS devices. For those of you who are not, if you're using the VoiceOver screen access software, you take your finger and thumb and turn and rotate them. Pretend like you're turning a little dial, like on your car stereo, for instance. In that instance, you get to rotate around various elements, like on a web page. It'll rotate you between links and text fields and all that. And the rotor is also available in various aspects of the operating system. I'm thinking that the crown could become the rotor for VoiceOver, because on such a small screen, the 1.5-inch screen, the rotor would be, obviously available, but also rather uncomfortable to use. But it's the little things. Mickey Mouse. But the more important things for me are this crown. It's definitely a very interesting user element. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, wireless charging. If you have a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro, you're familiar with wireless charging. You just plug in your MagSafe adapter, and I'll show you, I'll let you, that snap right there, that click. We're going to get the exact same thing on the iWatch, and there's no need to worry about alignment. With other smartwatches on the market, you have to line up with a specific set of pins. Not with this one. You just tap on there and boom. So whether or not it'll talk is a concern of mine. Not for me personally, because I do have enough vision to where I'd be able to use it. But for a lot of my friends who can't see at all, I'm honestly hoping that this does become the first smartwatch to talk. So there's that. And also the software. But like I said earlier, the little things. So you got the crown. The big thing for me is the wristband. Like I said earlier, why has nobody thought of this? On the back of the watch, the 12 and 6 o'clock positions are little buttons. You push those, and the band just snaps right off. And you have to slide it out. But you get the idea. You don't have to take it to a jeweler. And for those of us who are blind, you don't have to have somebody who's sighted to change the band for you. If you can locate that button on the stainless steel band, you could even resize it yourself. This is a real breakthrough for watch enthusiasts like myself, who I've been wearing a watch since I was 6. Why haven't they thought of this? I'm serious. Why haven't they thought of this? It's the little things that make it a whole lot better. But I'm very interested to see where the software goes when it comes time for closer to release. Now, you will see a couple of short videos on it, but the thing is, they weren't necessarily ready for the public to see the software yet, which is okay. It's perfectly okay. This is a brand new category for Apple. It's actually the first device that has been completely released from the ground up under Tim Cook's leadership. So it'll be interesting to see how this fares. Like I said earlier, super excited for this. What do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome. And have a nice day.